Welcome to a very special edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. We don't have a full show tonight for you guys tonight. There was really only one game that mattered on the docket, and that was one of the bigger games in college basketball. Goodman, one of the best rivalries in college basketball. And honestly, I think it's fair to say that we can call that game a barn burner.
A barn
Right
burner.
there, a barn burner.
Okay,
I
that's
decided to
fair.
grab myself a nice beer from a local Bricks brewery. It's called Brick City Brewery to be able to have a barn burner after watching that barn burner. Purdue beats Indiana 81-76. Braden Smith, you called him the best point guard in America earlier this week. Goodman, he had 24 points, 7 assists, 6 steals. He also had 6 turnovers, but it is what it is. Trey Coffin-Ren had 23 points despite battling foul trouble. And Purdue was able to survive one of the better games I've seen Mackenzie Mbako play this season. Trey Galloway was terrific down the stretch, but it was not enough as I think it's fair to say Indiana had one of the most interesting late game plays that I think I've ever seen anybody attempt to run here.
You didn't like that? You didn't like that play?
It was interesting. Interesting is the way that I would phrase it. So, Goodman, how you doing, man? You are in a hotel room in Delray Beach, getting ready to check into your third house in the last 3 weeks. But that was a hell of a game, hell of a win for Purdue, and a little bit of a statement win there, I think, for the Boilermakers.
I guess. Was it a statement win? I mean, if you're Purdue, you're favored by 12.5 at Mackey against a underachieving Indiana team. Was it a hell of a win to kind of need Indiana to make some poor plays again down the stretch? I mean, we've seen this before from Mike.
I think it was. Look,
I don't.
Rivalry games are rivalry games for a reason, and anytime that you can win a rivalry game when you don't play your best, I think that it is something to be celebrated. And I actually thought that Indiana played really well tonight.
They did. They played hard. Obviously, Luke Goody was great in the first half, and Trey Galloway was terrific in the second half. And Mbako, like you said, played one of his better games, and he's had these before. You know, it's kind of all or nothing for Mackenzie Mbako, but I just thought this was a major missed opportunity for Indiana.
That's what it was.
Because if they win this game, they're on the right side of the bubble. How crazy is it to say? They're on the right side of the bubble, or certainly right there, right in the discussion for a tournament team with everything that they have failed to do this year, Rob. And instead now you kind of, you go back to Bloomington and your heads are hung a little bit because you missed on a major opportunity for one of the better road wins this season. And look at what they've got coming up at Wisconsin, Michigan at home, at Michigan State, UCLA at home, and then they get a chance for Purdue and Bloomington. But, again, this is a team that doesn't really have a resume win, and they're not far off the bubble. And I said that to somebody earlier today. I said, like, if they win this game tonight,
so they're one of our first 4 out. We did our Fielding the 68 consensus bracket today. You can check that out. It's up on the YouTube channel. It's up on the podcast feed right now. But right now on our consensus bracket from our Fielding the 68 bracketologists, they are the second team out. And I promise you, if you're the second team out and you pick up a win over this Purdue team in Mackey Arena, you will no longer be on the outside of the tournament looking in. You will be in the NCAA tournament projection.
Which, Rob, think about that. Think about what you're saying, and let me read to you Indiana's best wins before today, and the fact that, again, they're in our first 4 out, and in just about everybody's first 8 out. Right, they're somewhere in the discussion right now. Their best wins have now come neutral, Providence, Rutgers at home. Penn State at the Palestra, not a tournament team. Rutgers, not a tournament team. Providence, not a tournament team. USC at home, not a tournament team. Ohio State on the road. That's their best win this season, and the Buckeyes are not a tournament team. So they have not beaten a tournament team as of today all year, and we've got them still. This won't hurt them. I mean, they're not going to fall back much further. It just could have put them in a spot where they could have been on the right side of the bubble instead of still fighting their way. And over these next 5 games, you probably have to go I don't know. You might have to. You got to win 2 of them. You might have to
See,
win.
that's where I disagree. I actually think that this win, that losing this game does hurt them because they had the opportunity. No, it hurts them because they had the opportunity. This is exactly what their resume is missing, right? They've lost 4 of their last 5. Now 5 of their last 6. The confidence ain't going up, right? After a performance like this. And like you mentioned, they got to go to the Kohl Center.
You
But here's the thing.
Purdue
You
to
could
the
be more
wire.
confident. Yeah, you could get all the confidence in the world you want. You still got to play at the Kohl Center in 4 days, right? You're still hosting Michigan in 4 days after that. You still have to go to Breslin after that. Then you get UCLA and Purdue again. Like, there's a very real chance that they could be looking at a situation where they lose like 9 out of 11 here. And I just, this was the chance to turn it around. This is the chance to get that big one. That's why I said it was a big one, because not only does Purdue have the chance to kind of keep pace here with Michigan State at the top of the Big Ten, they also, like, this might bury their arch rivals. Like, this might put Indiana into, this might be it. You know, I just
might have done what it might have done was buried Mike Woodson, his coaching career. That, because again, you win this one, it could flip things. It could get your confidence. I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is, the loss to Purdue doesn't hurt you in terms of taking you further off the bubble. I don't think it does that.
No, it doesn't do that. Doesn't do that.
Right. That's
it's just a missed opportunity. What is the opportunity cost? I think, I don't know. I was an econ major and I don't remember any of these econ terms. So if I was wrong, I'm sure the people in the chat and the comments are going to make sure to let me know. All right. Instead of just talking,
wait, hold on. I got something to ask you. Indiana's execution down the stretch. This is the second game we've seen this against Maryland. At the end of the game, it was one of the worst play, and Mike Woodson blamed it on the players for the most part and their lack of execution. We don't know what it was, but it was terrible down the stretch. The final play where they didn't get a good look at all and had to take an awful shot by, I think it was Miles Rice. This one, again, you're down 3. I don't know what was that play at the end.
He was trying to run the Bryce Drew play, right? And like, I don't hate the idea. So the one against Maryland was just a poorly, like a poor concept and poorly drawn up out of bounds play, like, and they didn't execute it right. Like, that one was just a mess. This one was they were trying to throw the ball up to, I think it was Ballo, might have been Renew. No, it was Renew.
Ballo was out. Yeah,
it was Renew at the 3-point line. He was going to catch it and spin and try to hit one of the shooters running up, hoping that those guys had lost their man. And like, I understand the logic in that, because if you throw it in and you dribble it up, you're going to get fouled at half court with like a second and a half left, and you're going to have to try to make one and try to miss one and get the offensive rebound. So what they did, that last play, like, it's probably not what I would have done, but I don't think that I'm not going to rip Mike Woodson for that one. Like, Trey Galloway might have been, you know, maybe you make a more accurate pass. Maybe Renew could have gone to get one, but I understand what he was trying to do. I actually thought that down the stretch, it perfectly played into Woodson's hands, because they just went to like the NBA style. Look, Trey Kaufman-Renn can't defend the rim when he's not in foul trouble.
Right.
And now he's got 4 fouls. So we're just going to set a ball screen with Umar Ballo. We're going to let Trey Galloway try to beat this drop coverage. And if that doesn't work, then we're going to wait for the tagger to come down. We're going to hit Mackenzie Mbako on the weak side of the floor and going to let him cook on that side of the floor. And it was unstoppable. So they just ran the same thing over and over and over again for the last 8 minutes, which was like, exactly, if you're an NBA coach coming in trying to run an NBA style stuff, that's exactly what you need. I honestly think I say this every single time I watch Purdue, and every single time I come on here and talk about Purdue, Jeff, I say the exact same thing, and I feel like nothing ever changes. They're the steadiest, most consistent team in the sport, right? We know how good Braden Smith is. We know how good Trey Kaufman-Renn is. We know exactly what their limitations and what their flaws are as players. Normally, their strengths outweigh their flaws, and that is kind of the truth for this Purdue team as a whole. When they have a great performance out of Fletcher Loyer, they're damn near unbeatable. When he is human, then they can be beat by a lot of different teams. And if you force turnovers and want to pressure them and can put rim pressure on them, then they're going to have some struggles. Like, they are what they are. They do what they do. and they have two guys that can go win a game all by themselves. Like where do you stand on this Purdue team in terms of what they can do in the tournament? Because they check the boxes of what we want for a team that can win. They got a stud point guard, they got a good big guy that can score, and they can make threes. And all I think about when I see him is like, yeah, but what happens when they run into like Texas A&M?
You have
What happens
no
when
rim
they run
protection.
into?
Listen, you have no rim protection.
Mhm.
You have no secondary ball handler, really. No guy. I mean, it's all on Braden. It's all on Braden. You
Yep.
don't have a fourth or fifth guy that you can count on at all. That if Lawyer or Trey Kaufman-Red has an off game, yes, like they can get to the Sweet 16, they could get to the Elite Eight. Like you said, like they could also lose in the first round, and it wouldn't shock me. They're that type of team that you call them steady. I call them just kind of not intimidating. That's what they are. They're not intimidating. They're good. They're well coached. They've got the best point guard in the country. They're not great defensively. They're not. Now, again, neither is Indiana. So, down the stretch.
See, that's where I'm going to push back. I actually think Purdue has gotten a lot better defensively because what they're doing is kind of selling out and trying to force turnovers.
Yeah.
They lead the Big
Ten. And it works. It works against certain teams. It works against certain teams, Rob. In the tournament, you try that against a disciplined, athletic team.
Name anybody in the SEC. Just name someone from the SEC,
exactly.
basically.
That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to be kind here because, again, you saw with Indiana tonight, right? He put Miles Rice on the bench for basically the entire second half until Anthony Leal fouled out, right? And Trey Galloway is not really a point guard. He made some great plays tonight. Don't get me wrong. But, again, I mean, I don't know with Purdue. Again, I think it's just matchup based. I think I know that sounds cliche, but I think it's just such a matchup based situation with Purdue when it comes to the NCAA tournament. And again, I want to trust them. I would really trust them if I saw Colvin or Heidi step up.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I hear what you're saying. I do think, and I'm just going to reiterate something real quick. Like, I do think that they have gotten better defensively, but it's the same thing as they are on the offensive end where there are some real flaws in kind of what they do. And part of it is the rim. Like, they can really, really force turnover. Braden Smith, it's like, I feel like there's at least 3 times a game where he just picks somebody pocket.
He had 2 of them at the end of the game. When he dug on Ballo at the end, then he had that steal in the backcourt. Like, he makes some big time defensive plays. Again, Braden Smith, I'm taking him over every point guard in the country. And honestly, it's not even a debate for me. I know Cam Jones. I get it. They're different point guards. To me, again, if you gave Braden Smith one more dude, and again, that dude could have been Colvin or Heidi taking a jump this year, because I think it's hard to trust Fletcher Lawyer. And I hate to say it, but I think it's hard to trust him because you just sometimes don't know what you're going to get. He's not the most physical guy in the world. And that's what kind of they need in that spot, right? They miss a big physical guard, which they had a year ago.
Well, see, yeah, I 100% agree. If you kind of look at how those matchups played out, right? Fletcher Lawyer, whenever he ended up on Mackenzie Mbako, that's when Mbako was like, it's time for me to cook. I'm gonna go at this one. Ooh, this is where I'm gonna take my chance to try to take this thing over and try to go get a bucket here.
Should Painter have gone to the portal, in your opinion, instead of being loyal and sticking with the Heidis and the Colvins and some of these other guys, Caleb First?
I don't think so. To me, it's the same thing as Shaka not going to the portal.
But okay. And what I'm going to tell you is, I'm going to push back on you here and say, it's great. Loyalty. I love it. I love player development. I love all that. Neither one of those teams are probably going to be good enough to maybe go to the Final Four, certainly to win it all. And if they had added one piece, Rob.
Okay, who? Name the piece. Like that. I've gone through this before. Like, name the piece. Are you going to go?
There are plenty of pieces.
Like who? Like that's where I just don't know if there's someone that is good enough to take the minutes that you would want to give the likes of Heidi and CJ Cox and Jakari Harris and Miles Coven to get them ready so that when they are sophomores and juniors, they are the
All right,
players.
how about Chaz Lanier?
I don't think you were going to get beat any of those guys for them. But yes, if you can go get an All-American, yes, you could. The guy that came to mind for me when I did this exercise probably about like a month and a half ago, I was having a conversation with someone. And the one name that popped up to me that I thought would be the perfect fit for this Purdue team and kind of what they're missing is Lamont Butler, to slide him next to Braden Smith and in between Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. But like when you're going through that entire list and there's one guy where you say, okay, in hindsight, I think he would have been the perfect fit. Like to me, that's a risk to take. And it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be right. Like the perfect example is UConn ending up with Aiden Mahaney, where we all thought like, yeah, that one makes a lot of sense. And then it didn't end up being the right guy. And so now Aiden's on this roster and you're kind of, he's a junior. He's got one more year of eligibility after this. And he's taking up minutes that maybe Ahmad Noel could have ended up to, you know what I mean? Like it's always a risk in hindsight. And I think that you have a top 10 team that is going to, at the very least, have a chance. And I say have a chance because the Michigan State schedule gets really hard here down the stretch. So you're going to have a chance to be able to potentially win a Big Ten regular season. You'll be in the mix for a Big Ten tournament title, and maybe you get to Sweet 16. All right, I want to play a game. Let's look at the bracket right now as it shapes up. We have Purdue as a 2 seed in the South. They get Bryant in the first round. I'll probably beat Bryant. Take them to beat Bryant.
Yes.
Okay. Second round.
That is not a great matchup for him, by the way. But yes,
it's not the best matchup, but yes. Missouri and San Diego State are the 7 and 10 in that region. I think that they beat Missouri because I think that they match up pretty well with Missouri. Yeah.
Do they? The way Missouri comes after you?
Yeah, I think they match up well with Missouri. I'm a little bit more concerned with the San Diego State matchup because of what San Diego State does defensively at you. But yeah, I think that they match up fairly well with Missouri. And then after that, it's Kentucky is the 3 seed and St. John's is the 6 seed in that region. Imagine if St. John's drops to a 7 seed in that region. That's when you kind of get into trouble. Although I think St. John's is going to cause.
I'll just say this: like
a lot of teams a lot of trouble.
Purdue could lose to Missouri or San Diego State, and it wouldn't shock.
It could. It would not shock me either. Like that's the thing.
Again, unintimidating. That's the word I use with this Purdue team. Like they're
good. Yeah.
They're good all around. Again, it's hard to question Matt Painter and Braden Smith. That duo is really hard to like go against when you're going to fill out your bracket, right? Because for me, it's always point guard, coach. Like those are the two things that when I'm filling out my bracket, I look at, well, does anybody have a better combo than that? Nobody. Nobody's got a better combo than Braden Smith and Matt Painter. So it's going to be tough. I just think there's too many other questions with this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't disagree necessarily. I think I like them a little bit more than you, but we're both on the same page with their flaws. All right, let me ask you this. When it comes to Indiana, what do they have to do to be able to flip this thing, right the ship, and find a way to like? I don't know how much more they could have done tonight to be able to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, Wisconsin, they're hard to beat at the Kohl Center, but that it's got to start there, right? It's got to start there where you get a road win, because here's the problem: if they don't get a road win like this, you're talking about a team that now there's kind of apathy with this team and Mike Woodson, and we saw the students a couple games ago just leave at halftime, right? When they got run out of the building, they against Illinois, everybody was gone. So I just wonder if that home court advantage is going to completely disappear if they lose another one to Wisconsin, and then they lose at home to Michigan, and then they go to East Lansing. And then it's like, oh, yeah, you come back home, for UCLA and Purdue at home. But like who at that point, I honestly think you're going to have a lot of Indiana fans that are going to say like, no, we want to keep losing so that we have a new coach. We're ready to turn the page on the Mike Woodson era, and we root against him. I've seen this happen at numerous other programs where, again, down the stretch drive, it's, hey, you know what? we don't even want to get in the tournament at this point. We're done. We're done with the coach. We want to bring somebody in, whether it's, take another run or take a run at Dusty May, which I don't think after 1 year at Michigan, there's any way Dusty May goes back.
All right, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Okay. Let's just play the hypothetical game here. Hypothetically, there was an opening at Indiana. To me, the very first name that would pop in my head of a guy with Indiana roots that can coach as well as anybody in the country, and that is not Scott Drew, because you got to make the call, I guess, but I do not see Scott Drew ever leaving Baylor. Is Chris Beard. If you are Indiana, can you hire Chris Beard?
Boy, it's a tough one, right? It's a tough one for me. You're 2 years removed. It might honestly depend on what he does in the NCAA tournament in a way. And if he makes it a no-brainer at that point. If he makes a deep run, yeah, I think then if you're Scott Dolson, you can justify it. If you're talking about, going to the first round of the tournament and losing, and I know that would still be a really good season for an Ole Miss program that hasn't really done anything. I think you need Beard to do something in the NCAA tournament. And I still wouldn't discount, Scott Drew. That would be my first call. Obviously, being a guy who coached at Valpo, who's got Indiana roots, state of Indiana roots, and you're a year and change away from opening the building at Baylor. Like last year, it was hard for him and his family when Kentucky came calling, because they had just opened the building at Baylor that he had worked to kind of get off the ground there. And I still don't know if his family would do it. Again, Kentucky, Indiana, they're similar in some ways, being the fishbowl. I'm not sure that ultimately, when it comes down to it, that Scott Drew would make the move. But I think, to me, Scott Drew, Beard are certainly towards the top of my list. I don't see, and a lot of people have asked me this, well, Dolson hired Kurt Signetti, from a mid-major. That was Indiana football. That's a different deal. Like, you're not going to a mid-major if you're Indiana basketball. Like, you can go after, and you should go after big boys. I'm not sure you're going to get them because, again, I don't know what I'd go after TJ Otzelberger. Absolutely, I'd go after him. But again, he's got a big buyout. And I don't think TJ Otzelberger has any desire to coach at a place like Indiana.
Brad Clapper, gotta love him. Okay, so
that ship is sailed, Clapper. That ship is sailed.
Let's say Scott Drew says no, because I still think Scott Drew says no.
I do too. At the end, I agree with you. I don't think he takes.
I don't think Otts. I think that the combination of the buyout being that big and Otts really having that thing rolling, like I don't know if he's a god there, man. TJ could be at Iowa State until he decides to leave at Iowa State, and I think that, especially like if you make a Final Four and you prove that you can make a Final Four and whatever you want at Iowa State, like I don't know if I would necessarily leave there. So give me a name a little bit more off the radar, right? Let's just say you don't get one of those top three. Who else are you looking at? Because I mentioned a couple names to you.
I've said this. I've said Bruce Pearl's name a year ago. I don't think he'd necessarily take it, but I think the only way he'd take it, there's only one way he'd take it, is if Auburn would give the job to Stephen Pearl.
And if you're Auburn, you don't do that, because then you lose Bruce Pearl. Like,
agree.
You say,
I agree with
Bruce. If you leave, no, Steve's done. He never set foot on campus anymore. We're cutting up his card to be able to get access to the athletic facilities, right? Like you want to keep Bruce Pearl around. You don't promise to give his son the job. Like, what are we doing here? No,
I agree. No, I agree. I agree. I mean, I'm just trying to think of who else. Go ahead, give me your name.
So there's two that immediately come to mind for me, and one is Ben McCollum. And I don't know if he's necessarily done enough, but I think Ben McCollum is a really, really, really damn good coach, and you could get him on the come up instead of having to get him
mid-major coach. I just wouldn't go that route. I wouldn't go that route.
Fair enough. Well, why? I'm curious why.
I just think you got to go after a proven guy who's done at the highest level. I don't think you're Indiana basketball. I don't think you until it gets to that point, and it might. Again, if you're talking Scott Drew, I think Beard would do it. I think Beard would do it, and we got to remember too. Beard obviously coached for Bob Knight at back in the day. He was super, super, super tight with Pat Knight, and I think they're back to being pretty good again. So I could see, Beard to me, I don't know how you would turn it down. I don't think he would. I think the key would be, is Scott Dolson comfortable going after Chris Beard? You know who they should go after? They'd never do it in a million years. He'd never take it. But the guy they should do, bring Kelvin back. Bring Kelvin back.
Yeah, I actually would be really, really funny if you did. The other name that I had for you, and it's a little bit more relevant now because he has recently been cleared. Let's say Florida makes a run here and like gets to a Final Four or something like that, because they are a Final Four quality team. Can you hire Todd Golden? Would Todd Golden fit? And the reason why I think it makes sense is because a lot of what he does is pace and space and efficiency related, and get offensive rebounds and shoot a bunch of threes. And I think that his style of coaching fits with what Indiana wants out of a basketball program and a basketball team. I still think he has to prove that he is good enough to get a job like that. You know what I mean? Like it's good enough to just kind of look good on the metrics. Let's go get some results too, and I think that eventually he will do that. But I think Todd Golden checks a lot of those boxes for me as well.
Yeah, like I think Golden should be in the equation for sure. I'll give you one more name that might want to get back to the Midwest and talk about a lightning rod. He's been a lightning rod lately.
Well, is he LA's finest here?
One Nicholas Cronin. Yes, one Nicholas Cronin.
Nicholas Cronin.
Well, I mean, listen, again, the dude can coach. Like, say what you want about him. And he is, there's no filter to Mick. And again, the bottom line is the dude does win. He won at Cincy. He's won, maybe not at the highest level at UCLA, but he got him to a Final Four, obviously. I would think he would have some interest in coming back to the Midwest, to a place like Indiana, if they came calling. The question is, again, my big worry with Mick is sometimes you got to be smart about what you say, because it is going to hurt you in recruiting. Now, again, if you have money, it might not matter. It might not matter as long as the number's there.
Look, there's been like 4 times where I've said Mick should not have said that is going to hurt him in recruiting, and then he immediately rips off like 5 straight wins, and that's exactly what he's done. I was like, yeah, their season's over. He called his team soft, and now they look like they might be the best team in the Big Ten. I think Mick can say whatever the hell he wants, and no one's going to care. They're just going to look and say,
by the way, I'll give you one more
little bald elf. Like, he can say whatever he wants.
If it gets down to Ben McCollum, I'll give you one more mid-major name, and that's Jared Calhoun. At Utah State, who's done an unbelievable job, and has some West Virginia roots. Coached, was a head coach at Fairmont State. Joe Missoula was his assistant. He's another one. If you're gonna go to that mid-major level, he should be on your list.
Yep. So when I did this, we did this with on the DTF pod with T.O. and Fanta, and the 3 mid-major names that we said: Ben McCollum and Jared Calhoun. I don't think Utah State's a mid-major, but Jared Calhoun is one of them. Yeah. And then the other one, like I think you would at least have do your due diligence on. I don't know if he's the right fit, because I think he's he's a Southeast guy, and I don't know if he ever wants to leave the Southeast. But if you're the state of Indiana and you can go get a dude that wants to play buckyball, I think that makes a lot of sense. I just don't like. He just seems like a guy that will be coaching in Alabama or he's going to be the dude that replaces Nate Oates at Alabama, or replaces Bruce Pearl at Auburn, or replaces Chris Jans at Mississippi State. Like, he's going to be the next guy at one of those. I feel like those are the 4 schools that he could possibly end up at.
I'll say this: the more I think about this, okay, so again, Scott Drew would be my number 1 call. I mean, Brad Stevens would be my number 1 call. He's going to say no, but you got to call. Number 2 would be
got to call Brad Stevens. Got to call Jay Wright. Got to call Billy Donovan. You got to do your due diligence. You got to do your due diligence. You got to call him. You never know.
You got to call Brad. You only got to call Brad because, again, Brad, does love Indiana University, does love it. So I think there's 0.1% chance, but you got to call him. Scott Drew would be number 2 for me. And the more I think about this thing, I think I would throw the house at TJ Alzenberger. I think I would throw the house at him. I think I'd give him a blank check. I just think he's that good. I think he's that good and that comfortable in his own skin. Now, again, I don't think he wants to deal with a fishbowl that is Indiana University. But maybe. Never say never. And a lot of people would think I'm crazy. Like a lot of people that are listening to this are like, there's no way, other than an Iowa State fan. But everybody else is thinking, there's no way he wouldn't leave Iowa State for Indiana.
Producer Tom's in our texts right now saying, Jeff, shut up. Jeff, stop talking. Jeff, enough. Cut it.
I'm just saying, if you're talking about guys that I trust, culture to win, no baggage. Well, baggage back when he was, in his 20s. If you want to go back that far, there's plenty of baggage for TJ, but we won't go there.
What the biggest problem with TJ is?
Go ahead.
The single biggest problem with hiring TJ.
Mediums.
They don't make polos that are small enough for him in the state of Indiana. That's the problem. They don't make polos that are small enough.
I got nothing.
Yeah. All right. How about this? Let's go this route. What would be the funniest hire that Indiana can make?
I mean, Kelvin by far.
No. You know what the funniest hire that they can make?
Sean Miller.
No, even funnier than that.
Who?
Matt Painter.
Well, yes. That's Sean Miller would be pretty funny.
Matt Painter would be the funniest by far. Hey, look, we've seen guys transfer from Ohio State to Michigan. We've seen guys transfer from Auburn to Alabama. We've seen guys transfer from USC to UCLA to USC. No, USC to UCLA. Where's Kobe Johnson now? He's at UCLA. USC to UCLA, right? Why couldn't a coach go from Purdue to Indiana? Why couldn't he?
All right, before we go, I haven't heard your answer on this one.
Hold on. TK said the funniest hire would be Robbie Hummel.
That would be pretty funny, considering, yeah, we're not going to go there. All right. The game you're looking forward to more tomorrow, or the most tomorrow, Carolina Duke, or is it John Calipari's return to Lexington? Or is it neither?
It's I don't think either of those are going to be entertaining games. I'm looking forward to seeing what the environment will be like in Rupp Arena, but I'm not looking forward to that.
No, but I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about the overall, everything.
Yeah,
Florida, Tennessee. Is that your game?
The game that I think will be the most entertaining.
Auburn,
let me just make sure I'm not missing anything.
Auburn, Ole Miss.
Auburn, Ole Miss was one. Yeah. Florida, Tennessee was the other. And then there's 2 games late night that are going to be must-see TV. One of them is New Mexico at Utah State for first place in the Mountain West. Is going to be a madhouse, right? The spectrum is nuts. The spectrum is insane. Both teams are 9-1 in the Mountain West. They're both good enough to be able to make a Sweet 16. I've watched a lot of Mountain West basketball. Both of them are going to be really good. And the other one is Gonzaga St. Mary's late night. This is the last chance the Zags have to really put some pressure on St. Mary's in the WCC, or St. Mary's is taking over that throne of saying this is ours. We own this conference.
For me, it's still Calipari going back to Kentucky. To me, on a few levels, you can say what you want. First of all, how much do they boo him? Because they're going to boo him. Number 2, I don't know. I just feel like this could be a fun game to watch where, again, we talked about Indiana. If they got that win tonight at Purdue, it changing their season, or at least putting them – it would have put them on the right side of the bubble. It's not going to put Arkansas on the right side of the bubble, but you know what it's going to do? It's going to give them a little bit of a chance. It's going to give them a little bit of hope at this point, and make them intriguing for a little while. May not be long. But for a little.
You have to bet the house that you don't own on one of these 3 things.
Okay.
Carolina plus 13.5 at Duke.
Yeah.
Arkansas plus 11.5 at Kentucky, or UConn plus 7.5 at Marquette.
Carolina. I'll take Carolina plus the 13.5 for sure.
Yeah.
That's the one I feel best about. I think Arkansas could get run, and I think UConn could get run. I don't
It's
think
all the UConn is all going to depend on if Liam
right.
McNeely is
If he
there. If
plays.
Liam McNeely plays, then 7.5 seems like a really good line.
Yep.
If he does not play, then they could end up being in trouble there. So we'll see. He practiced. They said Hurley said he was like nearly full in practice, but and he's listed as a game time decision. But like everything I'm hearing is that it seems to be trending more towards he won't play. So we'll see.
You are Harry Husky, so you should know these things.
Harry Husky.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to call you.
That's the best you got.
Well, it's late. It's late.
Expected more out of you, Jeff. Expected more out of you. All right, listen. This has been fun. Tomorrow night, 11 p.m. Field of 68 after dark. We'll be live. We'll be going for about 90 minutes. It's me, you, and LaTulip, right? We got LaTulip tomorrow.
Yeah. We're going to see how LaTulip does in the fire. I mean, tomorrow, like his head's going to be spinning tomorrow. I think.
I am not worried about LaTulip being locked in. LaTulip will be watching two different screens of Synergy at the same time, grinding film. So he will be ready to go. I promise you that much. All right, Jeff, this has been fun, man.